Welcome to Compassion's Compass, Module 11, Analytical Skills. If you followed our previous modules, you'll know that Compass has three sets of contemplative skills. We start with mindfulness skills. This is because from a polyvagal point of view, when we're in our ventral vagal mode, which is a relaxed communicative mode, it's much easier to access and strengthen our compassion. If we've been hijacked by anxiety, worry, fear into our sympathetic nervous system, or if we become overwhelmed and we go into what's called a dorsal vagal collapse, it's very difficult from those states to access our empathy and our compassion. So that's where we start, is how to get into equilibrium. And we move from there into some core practices for developing and strengthening your compassionate resolve and focus. Once that occurs, we move into the core analytical skills to help you weed out any internal obstacles that might prevent your progress on this particular path. So I'll do a brief walkthrough of all of the previous modules up to this point. Starting with the foundation practice of mindfulness, you can do this easily by just focusing on your breathing, noticing your out-breath and your in-breath, breathing normally, just noticing is it a long breath or a short breath. And as you're breathing, notice how your body's doing. You can scan your body, noticing any tension in your face, your neck, shoulders, breathing in calm, breathing out your stress, noticing any tension in your chest, your abdomen, lower back. Again, breathing in well-being, breathing out any discomfort, letting your body start to settle. Noticing your feelings and states of mind as you breathe. Breathing in well-being, breathing out your sorrow and distress. Noticing your awareness as you breathe, its clear nature, and remaining undisturbed by different sensations, thoughts, and feelings that may come and go as you practice a few moments of just mindful breathing. As you get into that calm state, just from a few moments of mindfulness, the next module moves into equanimity, where you consider your desire to be happy and not to suffer. And you contemplate that wish to be free from suffering and have happiness is true of everyone you know, everyone in your family, in your community, around the world. Humans and animals, all striving to find happiness and to avoid suffering. And for a moment, let your heart move into a place of wishing that for others and for yourself. To strengthen this, you can next move into the module on gratitude, remembering the benefits of gratitude for your own mental health as well as for others. Calling to mind people in your life who have helped you. Could be parents, friends, mentors, teachers, health professionals. Anyone along the way has given you support. All the people directly and indirectly who provided your food, your shelter, your protection, your well-being in every form. When you tap into your own gratitude for the help you've received, It really helps you reach a state where you wouldn't mind paying it forward. One obstacle to that kind of compassion and love is when you're holding on to a grudge. And so the next module is forgiveness, which is more for yourself than anyone else. Forgiveness is different than trust. So if someone's hurt you, it doesn't mean that you let them back into your life. It merely means that you let go of your own anger, which is disturbing your own mental peace, so that you can move forward. This can be easily done by recalling anyone in your life that you think you've hurt or abandoned, and mentally asking for their forgiveness, and then forgiving yourself for any mistakes you've made along the way. And then, to the extent that you're able, forgiving people who may have harmed you along the way. When you start to let go of grudges, it's easy to access the next module, which is kindness. Kindness is easy to cultivate. You can cultivate it just by simple thoughts of wanting yourself to be happy, safe, secure, peaceful, wanting the same things for your friends, family, people in your community, strangers, and eventually expanding out to everyone everywhere. How wonderful it would be if people were at peace, safe, secure, kind, loving, considerate. And you can imagine as you're thinking kind thoughts, you can breathe in well-being to yourself and imagine breathing out well-being to others. This is healthy for your own mental health as well as for people around you. Kindness is a wonderful feeling, love and kindness. And they naturally give rise to the next module, which is compassion, where when you see somebody who's in distress, it could be yourself, a family member, or someone in your community, there arises a natural wish that they be free from that suffering, and that's compassion. So as you contemplate the different people around you, including yourself, it's easy to let that compassion start to take center stage in your mind once you reach the state of kindness. You can enlarge that to include people in your community, around the country, around the world, all humanity as well as all forms of life. It doesn't hurt anyone to spread your compassion deep and wide, and it's good for your mental health too. To strengthen this compassionate wish, the next module 8 is called giving and taking. This is where you imagine that when you encounter suffering in yourself and others, instead of avoiding it or trying to hide from it, this is a courageous stance of facing whatever the suffering is. And imagine taking it in with your breath. Imagine it dissolving as light, entering with your breath, dispelling the darkness of fear and self-preservation worries, filling you instead with love, compassion, strength, resilience. And then imagine breathing that light of resilience and well-being out to your future self, to your family, to your friends, your community, to everyone everywhere. So this is a practice that you can do every day as you breathe, as much as you want, as much as you're willing. And it can strengthen your ability to face things instead of avoiding them, and can give you internal fortitude when times get tough. To further activate the compassion that you've thus given rise to, the next module is activation, where you make a decision. If I'm going to actually make the world a better place for myself and others, then I have to take steps to do so. It's up to me. Whose job is it to make life better for myself and others, if not for me? So this is a resilient stance of actually entering into an activation of your compassion and starting to put it to use in your daily activities. And this leads to the last of the compassion modules, which is called goal focused compassion, where you start to forge your own personal goals for how you want to direct your compassionate activities. All of this is the perfect basis for moving into this last module on analytical skills. And you're going to want to remember what your compassionate goals are as you enter into the analytical skills, because that's how you're going to define yourself as you come out of the analytical exercise. Analytical skills are designed to help you as you enter into a life of activity in the field of compassion, whatever goals of compassion you have chosen for yourself. One of the obstacles that some helping professionals encounter as they start that kind of lifestyle is what's called vicarious trauma, which can occur over time when helpers listen to and internalize the memories and reactions of trauma victims. It can lead to a cognitive change that alters one's sense of self and of the world, resulting in a damaged sense of safety, trust, esteem, intimacy, and control. The symptoms include anger, irritability, cynicism, anxiety, avoidance of certain types of clients, missing work, decreased productivity, or even leaving the field. Experts in the field of fighting vicarious trauma, like Perlman and McKay, recommend that in order to combat cynical beliefs and other factors that can lead to vicarious trauma, it's important for helpers to develop awareness, balance, and connection with others. Try to balance work life with time away from work. When working with people who have been through traumatic experiences, make sure to take breaks when you need them. You have to listen to your own your sense of self and safety and well-being. Forge healthy connections with the people at work and with your family and friends. It's important to try to find meaning and purpose. And in the previous module on goal focused compassion, that's the main focus. If you can figure out what your goals are for your compassion and your compassionate activities, automatically that can renew your sense of meaning. It's also important, according to Mickenbaum, to use self-calming strategies and cognitive restructuring to deconstruct triggering distortions in thought and to reimagine more positive thoughts focused on resilience. And this is exactly the focal point of the analytical skills that we're going to be going over. The nervous system has a negativity bias, which can cause us to focus more on negatives than on positives. If left unchecked, this can lead us into negative ruminations about ourselves and the work, especially if we are repeatedly facing challenging cases. To combat this trend, it can help to analyze and debunk distorted thoughts about ourselves and about others whenever they arise. An accurate appraisal of ourselves, our capacities, our friends, neighbors, colleagues, and the realities of their situations, and about what might help, is essential for effective intervention and for maintaining our own well-being and our compassionate goals. So the COMPASS Analytical Skills focus on debunking distortions in our cognitions about ourselves and the world. These are called cognitive schema, which are patterns of concepts about reality that inform our judgments and our reactions. Distortions in personal schema can occur based on our reactions to and interpretations of our unique experiences, thus affecting our self-concept. Overly inflated or diminished views of ourselves can block compassion development and lead to problems in maintaining well-being. For example, if we have an overly negative or diminished sense of ourselves, this can lead to feeling worthless, helpless, hopeless. This can sap our motivation by exacerbating depression, anxiety, and avoidance. In contrast, if we have an overly positive or an inflated sense of self, this can lead to feeling superior or entitled or invulnerable. This too can block compassion by exacerbating inconsideration, self-indulgence, and unrealistic expectations. So here's the analytical exercise in COMPASS. The purpose of the analytical exercise is to turn back internal obstacles to compassion through analytical insight. There are 3 steps to help you recognize, analyze, and debunk distortions in your self-concept. Step 1, identifying your distorted cognitions when they arise. Step 2, analyzing and dispelling targeted cognitive distortions within the context of mindfulness. And step 3, defining your self-concept using your compassionate insight. So let's try it. As I said before, it's good to review the other COMPASS skills so that you reboot your compassion and your compassionate goals before you try this exercise. But once you're in that compassionate state, there's a 3-point analysis. First step, think of a troubling situation that's happened to you recently and how it made you feel about yourself. So just take a moment to do that. It could be an interaction, something that happened at work or at home, but something that left you troubled or upset. Once you zero in on that, try to find that sense of self within the various aspects of your body and mind. So usually when we felt troubled by something, there's some in the background, some sense of ourselves and how we've been injured. When you pinpoint that, it's interesting to hold that in one side of your mind, and with another part of your mind, start looking through the different parts of your body and mind. Is that injured sense of self? Is it in my muscular system? Or is it part of my skeleton? Or is it in any particular organ of the body? If so, which one and exactly where? Our systems of our body include our digestive system, our cerebral system, our cardiovascular systems, our pulmonary systems. There are all sorts of subsystems within those. And if you really think about it and you look into it, you won't be able to find any one of those systems that inhabits or is inhabited by that distortion in the sense of self that the troubling situation caused to arise in your mind. So then you might say, well, that self is probably just part of my mind. But then again, look into that. Which part of the mind would it be? Would it be in your cognitions of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, your mental awareness? your feelings of pleasure or pain or indifference, different emotions or impulses, different conceptual thoughts and categories that we put things in as we analyze and discriminate between things. If you start to look into the different parts of the mind, you'll realize that this self image is just that. It's an image that arose in our mind based on circumstance. And so it has no real nature of its own. When you realize that, you can let that cognitive distortion about yourself just fade, just like a cloud dissolving into the sky. And within that empty space, recall a time when you were feeling confident and compassionately engaged. And fix your mind on that sense of self, that healthy, robust, positive, productive sense of self. Because that's truer to who you really are. And once you find that, just stay with that. If you like, you can imagine that within that healthier sense of self, your compassionate goal is like an internal light that becomes bright, that dissolves away your worries, your frustrations, and that radiates out to everyone around you. If you'd like to learn more about Compassion's Compass, I encourage you to read the book, Compassion's Compass, Strategies for Developing Insight, Kindness, and Empathy. Or you can visit our website, compassmethods.com. Thank you for taking the time to listen and try these exercises. I hope you'll repeat them and make them part of your daily routine. If you do, I think you'll find more and more satisfaction with them over time. Thanks again.